All right, let's talk about commas very quickly. The thing with commas is a lot of times people tell me, well, I put commas where I think they should go, or I put commas where I feel they should go. But we should put commas where we know they should go. There's a logic behind their placement. They are grammatically necessary in some places. They are grammatically unnecessary in others. And if you're putting commas in where they don't belong, it's just as important to leave those out as it is to put commas that are necessary in. So let's just take a brief overview. This is an incomplete list. There are things like dates that need to be on here or direct address, but those kinds of things are not going to come up in these essays that we're writing at the moment. If you said February 13th, comma, 2020, that would need a comma there, but a lot of times those are second nature when we're writing dates, or direct address is not something that necessarily comes up in these essays. So this is our incomplete list. These are the 5 that we're going to focus on today. And this is a really good checklist to come back, and when you're proofreading your essay, come back and make sure that there are commas in these places, specifically this little checklist of 5, and you're going to be in a really good spot for where you need to put commas in, or where you need to, sometimes people over comma, again, where you need to leave commas out. So let's talk about conjunctions real quickly. It makes sense that commas need to go by conjunctions, but let me explain why for a second. So if you look at this first example sentence about Melissa, there is a complete independent clause at the beginning of the sentence. Melissa loves to eat grapes. That can be its own sentence. That is a grammatically complete independent clause. Remember, independent clauses are any clauses within a sentence that could be their own sentence on their own. After the but is also an independent clause. She has to keep them away from her dog is its own grammatically complete sentence. But you've chosen to combine them together using a conjunction, making a complex sentence, which is great. However, the conjunction is not strong enough on its own to hold up both independent clauses on either side of the sentence. The conjunction needs help to hold up these 2 independent clauses. It's not strong enough. It's weak. It's only 3 words. It's only 3 letters long. But, right? So you throw in that comma before the conjunction, and now you've given your conjunction the power to hold up both sides of that sentence. When there's an independent clause on either side, you need a comma before your conjunction. Melissa loves to eat grapes, but she has to keep them away from her dog. Done. Take a look at the second example. This is a moment where you don't need a comma before conjunction. There is a conjunction there, but it does not need any comma around it. Alice has mock trial. Well, that's an independent clause. But after the and is just cheer after school, which is not an independent clause. So this sentence reads a lot more, this sentence reads without a pause. Alice has mock trial and cheer after school, right? So there's no need for a comma there because cheer after school is not an independent clause. It is a dependent clause. Okay, sometimes I say prepositional phrases and people look at me like I have 3 heads, but we use prepositional phrases all the time, and I promise you that you use them in your writing. After you write in a prepositional phrase, put a comma before the rest of your sentence. So a prepositional phrase is a phrase that begins with a preposition. There are some common prepositions listed afterwards. A lot of these come up pretty often when we write about literature, right? During Winston's time in the Ministry of Love, comma, blah, blah, blah. After Lady Macbeth comes up with the plan to kill Duncan, comma, blah, blah, blah. Until Romeo and Juliet can meet again, comma, they have to, whatever. There's all these times where you can put prepositional phrases in. Prepositional phrases can even go within a sentence, starting the sentence, taking a break to write a prepositional phrase, and finishing the sentence. The best deli in town, comma, across from the lake, comma, has amazing sandwiches, okay? That's another way in which a prepositional phrase can get into the sentence. But in all of those instances, you need a comma to separate out the prepositional phrase from the rest of the sentence. After introductory or transitional words, sometimes those are prepositions too, right? Some of the words like then, comma, take the peanut butter and jelly and put the sandwich together. Consequently is a transitional word that you might need a comma afterwards. Anytime a sentence begins with yes or no, yes, comma, there might still be some confusion. But I'm trying the best I can. And this one's got a conjunction comma in there too, right? I'm trying the best I can. Independent clause. There might still be some confusion. Independent clause. Comma necessary. Items in a list. I mean, this is the simplest one, right? This is how we first learn about commas, usually. When you list things out, you need commas between each item in the list. I'm going to the store for eggs, comma, milk, comma, bread, comma, and orange juice. Hopefully this doesn't need that much clarification. And the last one we're going to talk about today is appositive phrases. Another thing, another grammatical concept that I'm sure you use, you just might not know what it's called yet. These are phrases that add extra information to a sentence that don't directly contribute to the grammatic structure of the sentence. So Mr. Whitley has his own collection of hockey pucks is an independent clause. That could be its own sentence without any extra information. But in order to add some color, a little spice to this sentence, you've said Mr. Whitley, comma, a lifelong fan of ice hockey, got a little background information in there, comma, has his own collection of NHL pucks. Now you've given a little bit of extra information, but the appositive phrase not being grammatically necessary to the rest of it, you have to separate out with commas to show that this is not directly contributing to this independent clause around it. Sorry, choked in my choked in a little bit of spit there. Verona High School, comma, on Fairview Ave is a great place to find students who know about commas. This is an appositive phrase and a prepositional phrase. This is adding extra information to your sentence. It starts with a preposition, and it needs to be separated out with commas, right? Verona High School is a great place to find students who know about commas. It's an independent clause. You've added in a little bit of information here. Again, when I say unnecessary information, it doesn't, or extra information, it doesn't mean that it's not a good sentence. It just means that grammatically, it is not necessary to finishing the clause. So you have to separate it out with those commas. The biggest way you can catch things like this is by proofreading your essay, reading it out loud to yourself, checking it over, seeing if there's any pause that doesn't have a comma next to it. Maybe it's how you're reading it. Maybe you have a comma and it shouldn't be a pause there. Check your work out loud. And then when you come to a question, check this slideshow again and check that little comma checklist, and you'll be all set to go. You'll know where to put commas in, and you'll know where to leave them out. And it will stop being a science of feeling and start being a science of logic. Okay, that is it.